l'ouverture de la séance, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'ouvrir la séance.
Merci. La conseillère Torres, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci. La conseillère Fini, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Adoption de l'ordre du jour, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du lundi 29 août 2022 tel que présenté.
Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Je l'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci la conseillère Fini et merci la conseillère Smontani. Father, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Approbation des procès-verbaux.
Je propose d'approuver le procès verbal des séances de conseil tenues aux dates suivantes. Séance ordinaire de 27 juin 2022, séance spéciale de 13 juillet 2022, séance spéciale de 4 août 2022.
Merci la conseillère Smontani. Father, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci la conseillère Yulin. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. On va s'en aller tout de suite au rapport de maire. We're going to go right to the report of the mayor. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Welcome to our regular council meeting. Bienvenue à notre réunion ordinaire du conseil. I wanted to provide a quick update on the Sports and Recreation Center. We're in the process of fine-tuning the proposed plans for the building. When we get closer to a final plan, at that time we'll have a better idea of a final budget. If everything goes as planned, we'll have final plans and be able to go to tender at the end of the year or early in the new year. If there's an acceptable bid at that point, we will issue the contract and hopefully look to break ground in the spring. So I have a lot of people asking me, when are we doing this? When are we doing it? Is it going to shut down the pool? When is it going to shut down the arena? We won't know until we've actually given the contract and when the contractor gives us an idea of what his time frame is. Je voulais faire une mise à jour rapide concernant le centre sportif et récréatif. Nous sommes en train de mettre au point les plans proposés pour le bâtiment. Lorsque nous nous serons rapprochés d'un plan définitif, nous aurons alors une meilleure idée du budget. Si tout passe comme prévu, nous aurons les plans définitifs et pourrons lancer un appel d'offres à la fin de l'année ou au début de la nouvelle année. S'il y a une offre acceptable à ce moment-là, nous émettrons le contrat et nous espérons pouvoir commencer les travaux au printemps. This past month, I met with the mayor of Laval, Stéphane Boyer, to discuss the realities we face as a small town. Mayor Boyer is the president of the caucus of the municipalities on the island of Montreal at the CMM. And as president of the ASM, I met with the president of the UMQ, Daniel Côté, to express our needs as towns so that he can express it to the leaders of the political parties ahead of the provincial elections. Le mois dernier, j'ai rencontré le maire de Laval, Stéphane Boyer, pour discuter des réalités auxquelles nous sommes confrontés dans une petite ville. Et en tant que président de l'AMB, nous avons rencontré le président de l'UMQ, Daniel Côté, pour exprimer nos opinions sur les besoins en vue des élections provinciales. Please continue to stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay healthy. Thank you. Now we're going to move to councilors' reports. We're going to start this evening with, on seat number 3, Councillor Colleen Feeney reporting on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of the age-friendly municipality.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, bonsoir tout le monde. I'll start off with the finance. The complete list of dates for the 2022 water tax will be published in the next e-bulletin, but the process will start with, first of all, the mailing of the water meter cards to residents on September 2nd, and then the requested return of the water meter readings to the town by September 26th, 2022. And just to let you know, the readings can be submitted online. And if you're having difficulty reading your meter, you can even attach a photo of that meter and send it online. So we really encourage you to use the online form for the submissions of your reading if possible. The Department of Finance has also started the process of sale for non-payment of taxes. The first notice for unpaid 2020 property taxes was sent out on August the 1st, and the second one was sent out on August the 22nd. The residents will have until September the 9th to contact us in order to avoid the public notice. In addition, of course, work is starting on 2022 forecasts and 2023 budgets. But some good news also from the Finance Department. As announced in the e-bulletin this last week, electronic payments for permits is now available. So this is applicable to the following permits: building permits and authorizations, parking permits, dog licenses, cat licenses, and contractor permits for gardening and also for snow removal. Dans le but de simplifier le processus pour nos résidents, nous avons adopté une nouvelle solution qui vous permet de payer vos permis par virement électronique, e-transfer. Il sera maintenant possible de payer les permis suivants par virement électronique: permis de construction et d'autorisation, permis de stationnement, permis de chiens et de chats, permis d'entrepreneur, déneigement et paysagement. Okay. Then also you'll hear later in the meeting that a few things that are going to be passed related to the finances of the town, and the first is the disbursements. And in this past 2 months, we're covering a 2-month period, the disbursements totaled $1,607,829. So I like to give residents a little bit of a short précis on where we have spent your money this past 2 months. As usual, about a third of the money went to deductions at source and also to utilities, etc. So that was accounted for about $650,000. In addition, there was quite a spending on capital expenditures this past month of $304,000. The majority of that, about $240,000, related to the new recreation center, but there was also $35,000 spent on Westminster sidewalks and $22,000 spent on a new town hall roof. In addition, this past 2 months, we sent about $78,000 to the AGLO. Part of it was for water consumption, and the other part was for our quote-part, our part of the CMM, the Municipal Council. So that's the larger body. We're part of the AGLO in the City of Montreal, but the MMC also comprises the South Shore. So that was our quote-part this past year. Other major expenditures, of course, it's always public works, because that's a lot of the work that is done in the town. So there was town maintenance of about $34,000, and a lot of that was for the line marking. We had to renew our rental of our snow contract with the CP. That's about $39,000. We spent $30,000 on tree trimming and removal. Recreation, of course, spent a lot this past summer because it was pool time and day camp time and cultural events time. So between the pool and the day camp, that was about $43,000. But of course, we get a lot of revenue. That's a large source of revenue for the town. So those are our main expenditures for the past 2 months, just to give you an idea. Another thing you're going to see later on in the meeting is that we're going to pass the motion where we modify the amount of a loan which was approved by the Quebec government. So what happens is when we go out to do a project, we get an estimate of the amount of money that we'll need to borrow for that project, and the government has to approve it. We cannot go out and just get loans on our own at a bank. It's strictly controlled. And so the government approves that particular loan. And so what happens, if it turns out, after we get the bids in, or if we make some changes, if the cost of the project is lower, or if we are able to use some of our own funds, our surplus or operating funds, we don't actually need to borrow the entire amount. So we can take that off the government books, let's say, to leave us a little bit more wiggle room should we need to borrow anything in the future. So you'll see that happens, and I have to say it's, I think, thanks a lot to the good work of our finance department, that we will be actually removing about $2.5 million from our government loans book, not loans, etc., but from the actual approved loans. And that'll happen later tonight. I'll move on to recreation now. The pool. They had a very, very successful season of programming. Swim lessons and swim teams were absolutely full and with great attendance. And there was over 350 memberships to the pool this year, which exceeded our 2019 membership levels. There was a party held on August the 27th, and all the tickets were sold out. And thank you to all the volunteers who actually organized that party for the end, just about the end of the pool year, because weather permitting, the pool will continue to be open all the way up until Labor Day weekend and Monday, September the 5th. It will be closed Tuesday and Friday of that week, and then it will also open only on the weekend of September 10th and 11th. So please take a look at the website for more details. In terms of day camp and the community center programs, they also return to normal levels with groups and the ratios. The children and staff had a much more entertaining summer than the previous summer. And the day camp actually managed to add a special Week 9 program for 24 children, which is just ending on August the 26th. So great work was done by staff to keep everybody safe and healthy. Fall registration is now open, and this is registration which actually comprises fall, winter, and the spring sessions, and it's open on Amelia. The early bird pricing ends very shortly, so on September the 4th. There are a couple of new programs, notably mom and baby programs will be offered this year, and parent and child yoga. And the online brochure is available on the website. Les inscriptions aux activités d'automne, d'hiver et de printemps sont maintenant ouvertes. Les prix spéciaux de pré-inscription aux 3 sessions seront en vigueur jusqu'au 4 septembre. S'il vous plaît, consultez la brochure en ligne pour tous les détails. And in events, also in recreation, August the 16th had a very successful corn roast and camp variety show. We want to thank Burger de Ville for their participation in that event. The next event will be Saturday, September the 17th, and it will be a Westminster Street Festival. It'll be held from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. between Milner and Curzon. It is being organized by the Montreal-Ouest Merchants Association, so stay tuned for more details. And we do ask you to sign up for the e-bulletin or like the Montreal-Ouest Facebook page. Pour rester informé, inscrivez au e-bulletin, s'il vous plaît. The rink is scheduled to be open on September the 24th. And finally, le centre communautaire et l'hôtel de ville seront fermés le jour de la fête du travail, lundi le 5 septembre. Et ça, c'est tout pour moi, Monsieur le maire. Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now or to send me an email. Our email addresses are on the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Reporting from seat number 4 on matters pertaining to urban planning, Councillor Maria Torres, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Bonsoir à tous. My report covers the last couple of months, from June 18th until August 24th, 2022. During this time, 61 permits were issued by the Urban Planning Department. These permits included permits for building fences, installing sheds in the backyards, paving driveways, renovations of decks and porches, home renovation, 1 sign permit, and 2 occupancy permits. Pendant les 2 derniers mois, entre le 18 juin et le 24 août 2022, le département d'urbanisme a émis 61 permis. Ces permis comprenaient des permis pour la construction de clôtures, l'installation de cabanos, le pavage d'allées, la rénovation des terrasses et des porches, la rénovation des maisons, un permis d'enseigne et 2 permis d'occupation. Au cours de cette période, 4 avis ont été envoyés aux résidents. The 4 notices sent to residents were for: 1 related to property maintenance, 1 for the installation of heating and cooling equipment in an unauthorized location, and if you want to learn more about the where is authorized or not on the building, please read what the article I just is on the September issue of the Informer. 1 notice was given for doing work without a permit, and 1 for not being compliant with the visibility triangle bylaw. I'll just tell you a little bit about this because I just learned about it, and anyhow, I want to share it with you. This bylaw refers to the cases where trees, hedges, shrubs, and other plantings are likely to cause an obstacle for vehicular or pedestrian circulation. This is especially important for corner lot properties. The lack of visibility created by such obstacles might put the public at large in danger. This bylaw stipulates that the owner of the property should cut or trim all the vegetation in the visibility triangle to a maximum height of 0.61 centimeters in an area no less than 3 meters on each side of the triangle. If you wish to read more about this bylaw, please consult the town zoning bylaws. I do believe it's chapter 4. During the above-mentioned period, the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, met 4 times and reviewed a total of 32 files. The next PAC meeting will be held on September 14th. The deadline to submit complete files to PAC is 2 weeks prior to the meeting. La prochaine réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme aura lieu le 14 septembre. Les dates limites pour soumettre les dossiers complets au CCU sont de 12 semaines avant les réunions. J'aimerais vous rappeler que toutes les demandes de permis et autres autorisations doivent se faire via le site web de la ville, où vous trouverez également tous les renseignements nécessaires liés aux demandes, y compris les dates et formulaires importants. And now, in addition to applying online, you can also pay for the permits online. As Councillor Colleen Feeney mentioned before in her report, the town has introduced an online payment system which will facilitate all payments to the town by e-transfers. Si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires, n'hésitez pas à me contacter à mtorres@montréal-ouest.ca. Sorry, I forgot to mention something or right on my report, but on my way here I was reading the Informer, and it has to do with ragweeds. It says, which is a great little article, ragweed is rampant in Montreal-West this year. It is the #1 seasonal allergen, so it should be pulled out immediately before it blooms. Not only is that the good neighborly thing to do, but it also respects the town bylaw, which prohibits this vegetation and may subject the homeowner to fine. So, no ragweeds, we should pull them right away, and that's all for me tonight. Bonsoir à tous et merci.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. Reporting from seat number 1 on matters pertaining to public security, Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather.
Bonsoir à tous et tous. Good evening to everybody. Today I'll be providing my report on security for the months of July and August. Donc je fais le rapport pour les mois de juillet et août. So I'll start with some of our crime stats. As some of you may be aware, we've had some increase of criminal activity in the town. One would be an exposure to a young girl who was walking home in the evening. A man had pulled up and exposed himself to her, and he is a 40-year-old bald male, a white bald male. So if you're seeing anybody, please contact the SPVM, call 911 to ensure that the police are aware. I just want to take this opportunity to remind people that our public security officers enforce bylaws, but the police have authority under the criminal code. So if you see any kind of criminal activity, to please continue to report to 911. That also helps us with regards to our own statistics, which we received from the SPVM. Unfortunately, we haven't received statistics since last November, and we're hoping that we'll get the SPVM to start to contribute statistics. We're not the only town. Other boroughs around the island of Montreal have yet to receive their statistics, but it's important to continue to report. Donc, il y avait un homme qui a exposé ses génitaux à une jeune fille le 23 juillet. Donc, c'est un mâle qui est blanc, qui est chauve. Donc, si vous voyez quelqu'un, c'est important d'appeler le 911 et pour faire un rapport aussi avec notre sécurité. Mais c'est le policier, la SPVM, qui ont l'autorité sur la code criminelle pour ces types d'activités criminelles. Again, on July 28th, Many of you have heard as well that there was a double homicide shooting near the intersection of Avon and Ronald of an unknown assailant. Unfortunately and sadly, there were 2 victims that were not residents of Montreal-West, an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, one who died on scene and one who died at the hospital. Again, our police, our public security are involved, of course, but 911, SPVM are responsible again for that, for criminal matters, and our public security continues to patrol the area to ensure if they do see any kind of criminal activity that they call the police for assistance if they see any kind of criminal activity. Donc, il y avait un incident avec des armes à feu. Donc, il y avait 2 victimes qui ont subi de leurs blessures, une qui était 17 ans, une autre qui était 18 ans. Donc, c'est très important de continuer à appeler le 911. Et aussi, nos agents de sécurité sont au courant de la situation puis ils travaillent très étroitement ensemble. So, it's important that we continue that important collaboration. Again, on August 2022, we continue to have packages that are stolen off of properties. Donc, il y a une continuation des vols des colis. So it's really important that people make alternate arrangements or to have something delivered to a neighbor where they're not able to be present at their homes. That's really important as well because we know this is not an isolated incident in Montreal-West. Obviously, this is occurring across the country, occurring across the island of Montreal, so people need to remain vigilant. As well, on a block of 300 Ballantine, there was a resident who had a medical emergency and PSO was called, as well public security was called to make sure that the home was locked. And we do continue to provide these kinds of services where if there's an incident and a neighbor is called, a resident is called, and they see that there is an issue related to security, our security can step in and assist in those kinds of matters. I also wanted to mention that we will also be reestablishing our committee, which was formerly the Traffic Safety Committee, which will now be the Community Safety Committee, and I'll be calling on those who have expressed an interest to have a meeting in September. Donc, on va convenir notre rencontre avant, c'était la comité de circulation. Maintenant, ça serait une comité qui s'en occupe de la sécurité de communauté. Donc, on va continuer au mois de septembre de convoquer des rencontres avec les résidents qui ont exprimé un intérêt. Donc, c'est tout pour moi. Donc, merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. Reporting from seat number 2 on matters pertaining to public works, communications, and the environment, Councillor Elizabeth Hewlin.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Good evening, everyone. L'équipe de travaux publics a passé une grande partie de l'été à réparer les nids de poules, les trottoirs, les regards et les puissards. Comme toujours, une attention particulière a été accordée aux zones scolaires et aux routes principales. The town flowers, which were exceptional this year, were planted lovingly and tended throughout the summer by our special gardener, Bruce Thick, so we want to pay him our debt of thanks for his great care and expertise. Street signs around town were also cleaned and replaced as needed. Coming up, our fall tree planting campaign will begin shortly with the goal of planting 40 new street trees around town. So you'll be contacted shortly if you're on the list to have a tree planted in front of your home. And of course, if you'd like to have a public tree planted in front of your home, please give Public Works a call as soon as possible. Moving on to the Environmental Department, Montreal-West will be joining many other island municipalities and boroughs in the further regulation of leaf blowers. Deposited here at Council tonight will be a notice of motion to amend our nuisance bylaw regulating the use of these machines. Starting in November 1st, 2023, all gas-powered blowers and vacuums will be prohibited in the town. Residents and contractors who wish to use these machines during the permitted spring and fall windows will need to use electric models. Coming up on September 17th and 18th, it'll be free for all weekend when you're encouraged to set out your functional but unwanted items on the sidewalk or your lawn for your neighbors to pick up for free. This event will align with our Westminster Street Fair on September 17th, so there'll be plenty of people out and about to give your surplus items a new home. Switching now to the communications portfolio, le service s'était occupé cet été par l'élaboration de la brochure de loisirs, les mises à jour du site web, les traductions et l'envoi des e-bulletins et encore plus. So that's it for me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have during question period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. So we're going to go now to question period. The way we work with question period is that we take questions from people on the floor first, and then we move to questions online. First question period, maximum of 25 minutes, limit 2 questions per person, a short preamble, your first question, and then a follow-up if you want. This is not a debate period, this is a question period where you get a chance to ask your questions. So if you do have a question, I invite you to step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and ask your question, please.
Hi, good evening. Daniel Marcuz, 446 Woolsey North. I have 2 questions. The first one is neighboring town called St. Luke, garbage is being picked up only in boxes. Why isn't the town of Montreal-West doing the same thing? First of all, the problem is that people put their garbage in plastic bags. The animals eat those, go into those bags. The food is all over, and it's just not sanitary, and it's not sightly. Town of Côte Luc, they provide, well, they don't provide the bins, but they charge them for the bins. And this way, it's going to be nice, clean, and at the same time, it could save money on picking up the garbage. You may be able to pick up garbage only once in 2 weeks rather than once a week. And it's simply a better solution.
If we can answer that question,
Sure.
Mr. Marcuzzi, I'll let Councillor Yulin give you the answer.
Well, so you're ahead of the curve there. Thanks for coming with that question. We are actually examining just that. We had a meeting last week, or was it the week before, and talked about exactly those issues. So that's it's in the pipeline for Montreal-West as well.
Okay,
But thank you very much. It's a prescient question.
Okay.
Do you have another question?
Yes, a couple of months ago I asked about a pedestrian crossing around in the block between around the Berge de Ville or something like this to cross Westminster. People are doing it in any case, and it's just an accident waiting to happen. And I don't want to see the town reacting just the way we did when we had an accident on Avon, that we took measures after somebody was killed or run over. I know that I received, I couldn't answer at the time because it was streamed, but you said that you have to put a stop sign. But on Fleet, there is a pedestrian crossing without a stop sign before, and it's working fine, and I don't see why the town shouldn't do the same thing here. It's simply going to save somebody's life at one point.
It's a little bit problematic, Mr. Marcuzzi, to have a pedestrian crosswalk without a stop sign that's not protecting. If somebody goes into a crosswalk, they're assuming that the cars are going to stop, and if there is no stop sign, the cars may not stop.
But you can have the same kind of a light like you have in front of the community center where somebody presses
then it becomes a stop sign. That's a different story.
Okay,
That's a different story then.
So
Absolutely.
then this is what I had in mind.
Absolutely. And as we're looking at the intersection of Milner and Westminster now, because there's like 2 crosswalks there that may need to one of them needs to be removed maybe, then at that point we're also going to do the evaluation of whether we can safely put something mid-block, like you're saying, at the beginning of where the businesses are on Westminster.
Because people cross to go to the Mini Coup, they cross to the Berge de Ville.
It's just a question that we're a little bit leery, and the traffic engineers have told us not to put a crosswalk if you don't have a stop sign or a light, because then people have a false sense of security, and they're not going to look both ways. They're going to think it's like the United States, or as soon as you put your foot on a crosswalk, everybody
No,
stops.
it's not just the United States,
Well,
but
it's not like that here in Quebec, and definitely not like that here in Montreal.
I agree, but,
Yeah,
but
but
like
that's
the one
something
that
that
you
we're
have,
looking at.
but the one that you have in the community center with,
That's a good point, but that's, like you're saying, that's one where it actually becomes a stop sign when you push
Okay.
that. Yeah, I appreciate it. So
It
it's
is
it's taken into account.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcusi.
My name is Bianca Rinaldi, and the subject is the linden trees.
Your address, please, Mrs. Rinaldi?
I'm sorry?
Your address, please, for the
The
file?
Oh, okay, 459 Brock North.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. The subject is the linden tree. It's 4 years I'm dealing with that problem. I also informed all of you that it's 4 years, no results. What's the problem?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, if I can just, before I
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
it over
please,
to you,
please go ahead.
Mrs. Rinaldi, if I can just tell people what the issue was, so that
Okay.
people know, because not everybody knows.
Okay.
So there's a
That's
linden
right.
tree, and you'll correct me where I'm wrong. There's a
Okay.
linden tree on the edge of their driveway, and the linden tree puts out like a kind of sap that falls onto their car and falls onto their driveway. Okay? So that's what the problem is being.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll let Councillor Yulin answer, and then I want to add something at the end, please.
Okay, well, so we were in contact, it was nice to speak to you about that. And the last time that we were in contact, I mentioned that you should bring some pictures and make a claim to the town if you wanted to have some recompense or have the problem solved by way of the town. And I believe you've done that. I think we spoke about that. So I guess I would just refer this to our town clerk, who's with us this evening, and he can maybe tell you where your file is in that matter. Okay? So do you have any information? Or I don't know if Benny wants to say any more, but
I'd like to add something a little bit further, Mrs. Rinaldi. I'd like to take it one more step.
Okay.
So I'm going to have our Director General, our Interim Director General, she's going to speak to you tomorrow.
All
She'll
right.
try and reach you tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure we have your phone number. We have the phone number I'm pretty sure we have.
Yes.
I'd like to have her reach out to you tomorrow, and I want this problem solved. So she'll reach out to you, and we'll see what we can do if we have a plan to fix this once and for all.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good enough. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank
Mrs.
you for
Rinaldi.
coming.
Did you have another question?
Thank you. Yuli.
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. You're very welcome. Let's hope we can get it solved.
Okay.
Okay.
you.
Thank you for coming, by the way.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Rinaldi. I live at 422 Valentine North. 7 years ago, I spoke to Mr. the Mayor about my number problem in the house.
Absolutely.
You know all about it. 7 years, and nothing's been done. I don't blame the owners of the houses. I blame more Montreal-West, because there should be a sign put in there, because you gave permits to do those numbers to put the galleries in the street where they're not supposed to. You know the story. So I would like to know, when is it going to be fixed? The owner of the house at the corner, he put a little number there, but it fell down. Now, I would like for the city to think about something of a sign to put, so they could see my house. They don't see my house. Every time I get an order, I gotta be in the street. No, I'm here. And you know, you've been there, Mr. Mayor. What's the problem? The problem is, I live at 422. There's 3 houses in my street. Mrs. Torres came to my house. Luigi Onesi from Minico. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know where I live, at the end of the street? There's 3 homes, 422, 424, and then there's 22, which is supposed to be Garden Road, but it's on Valentine. Next, across the street, they give a permit for the next house, you just remodeled, 23. So you have 422, 424, and then you have 22, you cross the street, you have 23. Why do they give these permits?
Because the bylaws, Mrs. Rinaldi, if somebody wants to build a property, build a gallery, if it respects the bylaws, we have to give the permit.
Well,
Now, just a second, please.
Yes.
So the question of 22 Garden, that's
Yes.
not something that we just gave, that's something that's been there probably
Yes,
before I came into
yes,
town.
it's been there
Agree
a
with me?
long time.
Okay, so now, we said, when I last spoke to you, we said that the owner of 22 Garden Road was ready to put up a sign, a
No,
bigger sign,
yeah.
to put, that his address was
Hasn't
supposed to
been
be there. Okay, so
And
now
Mr.
this is the first.
Mr. Mazzoni, the last time I came to breakfast with you, the last time you were doing that,
Mhm.
Mr. Mazzoni was supposed to be taking care of everything, but he
Okay.
didn't do nothing.
Okay.
I don't want to use a bad word.
Okay, so now, Mrs. Rinaldi, this is the first time that, since then, this is the first time I'm hearing that the problem wasn't solved.
It's not solved,
Okay,
and I
okay.
like for the city
The
to
city-
come and do something about it. I
So-
don't blame the owners of those two houses, because you give the permit, not you, whoever did.
So
So-
let me ask you something, Mrs. Rinaldi, what do you think the solution
The
is?
solution is you come, you have to put a sign that the street 422 is there, or you have to put 422 Garden Road on his house. You put it, not him. He's not responsible for that. It's supposed to be the city,
No.
because you made the problem.
No, Mrs. Rinaldi, let's go back a step.
Yes.
I cannot come and put something on your house.
Well, you gotta ask permission for him. You
Okay.
gotta tell him he did wrong. It was wrong what you did. And number 23, why did he put it on Garden Road? On Valentine? Why, he has a wall there.
Mrs. Rinaldi,
No,
you,
I'm very
you asked the
upset
question.
because
I
you
understand
know
that,
what
but this,
happened.
Mrs. Rinaldi, this is not a debate period.
No.
You've asked your question, and I'll look into it again now.
What? I hope
Okay?
so.
Okay,
It's
I'll
7
look
years.
into it again.
7
Okay?
years.
Because this is the first I'm hearing of it that the problem wasn't solved.
Well, I came back to you when you had the coffee. I told you, and Mazzoni.
You told me then, and I thought it was taken care of, and now you're telling me it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
and 'cause
waited-
you told me he did put something up, did he not, the
He
gentleman?
took it off, though. It fell off because it was
Okay.
a little thing of wood, and it must have fell.
Okay, so let me see if I can get some kind of another solution, a little bit more
I
permanent.
would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much,
Because
ma'am.
that's my only problem. You know, you've seen it yourself. I'm not making it up.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much for all of you.
If there's no, just one second, if there's nobody else, then go ahead, Mr. Marcuzzi.
Yeah, how long can someone keep a dumpster in front of their homes?
Sure, I don't have the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Dumpster.
A dumpster,
Dumpster.
like somebody doing construction, Mr. Marcuzzi?
Correct. There is one on Hudson, which has been there for more than a year.
I don't know that answer.
I
have to
suppose
check
as
the
long as they
bylaw.
have a permit to
Yeah,
do the
is the-
renovation.
But for how long?
Okay. Mr. Marcuzzi, I don't know the answer offhand. If I can get it for you and have somebody send it to you by email.
I mean, it doesn't look very nice, this the dumpster.
I don't know what the answer is. Do you
And-
know the address that's in front of Mr. Marcuzzi?
It's just across from Edinburgh School.
Okay, so let me find out, and we'll see if somebody can email you the answer.
Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And then something that Mrs. Torres said, there's a property on Radcliffe and Woolsey with bushes growing like crazy. Now, you said about obstructing the sidewalk. If somebody walks on the sidewalk and somebody else is coming the other way, you have to go into the street. So they have to be told to cut it.
Very good. I will pass it along, and they should get a notice or a fine for it, yeah, because you have to have that visibility. It's very dangerous otherwise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So you said the corner of Radcliffe and Wolseley, right?
Radcliffe and Woolsey.
Yeah, thank you.
It's on the east side of Woolsey.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can we close the window and put the air conditioning back on, please? Thank you. I understand, but it's like completely humid outside. It makes no sense to have the window open right now. So we're going to move to the questions that were submitted to council via the website today. First question comes from Sherry McGurnan, 322 Westminster Avenue North. Hello, I would like to follow up on two previous email questions I had. We'll start with the first one. The lane behind my home, which as I understand it, is the city's property. I am concerned that the amount of water and ice that accumulates, making it impossible and dangerous to walk or even drive. The worst part is between 320 and 324 Westminster Avenue North. There's also a lot of debris that never gets cleaned up along the fences. I'm worried that this come winter, when we have snow accumulation there. Additionally, there are little trees growing out of the pavement. So there's a second question, but if I could ask Councillor Yulin to answer the first one, please.
Okay, yes, thank you, Sherry, for your question. we'll have to send some PSOs over there to have a look and see what you're speaking about with respect to debris and trees or greenery growing up there. And if it needs to be taken care of course, we'll do that. So thanks very much for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you very much. And the second question, the fences on the west side of the lane are further out than they are supposed to be. It seems one person went further out than they should have, and a few others followed suit. This is problematic since it makes it very difficult for me to park even before the snow comes. I would like to know what procedure is for having them correct this. I would prefer not to have to go another winter having a terrible time parking my car. Councillor Torres, if you could address the question, please.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Sherry. I heard from two councillors that they walked by today and they couldn't identify the fences that you're talking about. So please, if you can send me an email with the photographs or the address of these fences, somebody will, I will notify the urban planning department to see if indeed they are further out than they should be. But please send me the address, and you can send it to my email, montreal-west.ca, and then we can look into the issue. Okay, thank you so much for bringing it forward.
Can I also add, Sherry, that if you have any photos that you can send us specifically of, you mentioned debris in the alley and some trees growing in, a photo of that would be very helpful. So we're sure of what you're talking about there. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, Councillor Yulin, and thank you very much for your question, Sherry McGurnan. Next question comes from Eric Dupont, 75 Courtney. In the past few weeks, it seems there's been a lot of action in our town. Amazon packages being stolen more often, 2 murders, and car thefts. Public security seems to be less present, at least in our area. They don't patrol as much as they used to. What is the plan to make sure we are as safe as possible? Thanks. Councillor Small-Pennefather, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Dupont, for your question. Unfortunately, as I stated in my report, there is an increase of criminal activity. We do have patrollers from public security that do have a schedule in terms of patrolling, but as I stated, with regards to the criminal code, it is the SPVM that is responsible for criminal activity. Of course, if our public security officers do witness criminal activity going on, they will be in touch with the SPVM or 911 to ensure that a suspect is apprehended, and they have in fact done such activity over the course of the last month, where there has been an individual that was identified that was going door to door that was suspicious. They contacted the SPM. They actually they assisted with the arrest of the individual. So we do work collaboratively with the local police authorities in that regard. And of course, people just need to remain vigilant. And I would ask, with regards to our stats again, that people do call in or report crimes to 911. It's very important with regards to us maintaining our statistics. Not a criminal activity, but I do want to mention this as well. We also have 3 schools returning as well. I would just mention as well that people need to make sure that they respect the speed limits as well, as we have a lot of, we have 2 elementary schools and 1 high school in the sector, and just to ensure that you're being vigilant with return to school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather, and thank you for your question, Mr. Dupont. Next question comes from Mark Johnson, 35 Campbell. Should we be concerned with the slow progress of the Easton development? Quite often there is no work being done on the site for no apparent reason. Has the developer committed to a construction schedule? Does the town have concerns relative to the developer's financial stability? So no, Mr. Johnson, I don't know. It was slow during the construction holidays. I think it's probably going a little bit slower than we had anticipated. We are absolutely not concerned at all about the financial viability of the financial stability of the developer. We're very comfortable also that we have in place many points in the sales contract to protect the town. So no, we're not concerned at all about the financial viability or stability. We would have liked to have seen it progress a little bit further, but they're making progress every day. I know it's that after the construction holiday, they've been working every day as well. So I hope that answers your question or allays a bit of your fears, Mr. Johnson. Next question comes from Donna McLaughlin, 156 Valentine South. Can you please host a Meet the Candidates for the provincial election? And will there be a second dog park at the arena area? So the first question, the town is not hosting a Meet the Candidates night, but the Rotary Club is. The Rotary Club is hosting a debate for the provincial candidates from the major parties. It'll be held upstairs on September 23rd. And I don't know if, I have to be honest, I don't know if it's at 6:30 or 7, but it'll be upstairs on September 23rd. And you'll have a chance to come hear the candidates answer questions. And will there be a second dog park at the arena area? We don't know that for a fact. That if it's something, that'll be a second phase. So it's not something that we can commit to in the first phase. As we did with this first dog park, we spent a lot of time ensuring that we have the right area and the right infrastructure in place, and we want to make sure that we're doing the same thing for another potential dog park. So thank you very much for your question, Donna McLaughlin. Next question comes from Caroline Combs. Après plusieurs communications avec la ville depuis plus d'un an, nous sommes toujours en attente de l'implication de la sécurité. À côté de chez nous, il y a une intégration des ratons laveurs. Plus de 6 ratons vivent dans le jardin mitoyen et posent un grand problème d'insalubrité et de sécurité pour nos 2 enfants, nos 2 filles qui, elles, jouent dans le jardin. Quelle action comptez-vous prendre? Je peux vous demander de répondre, la conseillère Small Pennefather.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire. Merci beaucoup pour la question, Madame Combs. Donc, comme vous savez, c'est un terrain, le voisinage, c'est un terrain privé. Donc, il n'y a aucune réglementation qui existe pour nous permettre d'être sur le terrain pour enlever les ratons laveurs. Par contre, parce que c'est un terrain privé, c'est suggéré de contacter une compagnie privée de les enlever. Son nom, c'est les skedaddle. Et aussi, il y a des réglementations provinciales qui s'est interdit d'enlever la faune sauvage aussi par notre sécurité publique. Mais si vous avez besoin de plus d'informations et si vous avez plus d'informations, je vous invite à me contacter si vous avez d'autres informations. Donc, c'est Lauren Small Pennefather à commercial Montréal-Ouest /CA. Merci.
Merci, la conseillère Small Pennefather, et merci pour votre question, Caroline Combs. The next question comes from Matthew Sherrard, 139 Brock South. We welcome and love the bike path at the bottom of Brock South, connecting Montreal-West to the Falaise Saint-Jacques and across the Turcotte to the Lachine Canal. This is a fantastic development. Is there a plan to have bike paths in Montreal-West to access the path, for instance on Brock South and or Ballantyne South? Mr. Sherrard, there are no concrete plans right now. The bike paths, the agglomeration bike paths are something that are determined at the Agglomeration Council, and let's be honest, they're determined by the City of Montreal. They came to us with a plan, let's say maybe 5-6 years ago. They wanted to put a bike path down Westminster, and they didn't ask us they didn't consult with us ahead of time. They actually came and said, this is what we want to do, and we told them a bike path on Westminster was absolutely out of the question. There was just too many cars and too many people using Westminster to have a bike path at the same time. But that's not saying that we don't want any other bike paths. There may be some really good options for bike paths. It's something to be discussed. So I will raise it again with the people at the agglomeration who plan bike paths and see if we can't get something moving. So something may come, Mr. Sherrard, I just don't have any idea when. People, even my colleagues in some of the other towns that have had bike paths, even when they agreed on the bike path and they wanted to have it done, they waited 5, 6, 7, 8 years to have it actually come to fruition. But it is something that I can bring up to the people there. Thank you for your question, Mr. Sherrard. Next question from Susan Superstein, 242 Ballantyne North. Now that we have a grant for senior support, I am again asking when sidewalk and hump can be filled so that it is safe to walk in the town. Very disappointed that this has been ignored for so long. Councillor Yulin, please.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mrs. Superstein. My understanding from meeting with the director a couple of weeks ago was that they did do the patching on the hump bridge, but I will double check with the department about that and see whether or not they've been able to do that work. But they had that on their list to fill the small potholes there. So I'm assuming if it's not done, it will be done shortly. But I'll double check for sure. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Mrs. Superstein. Next question from Judy Kennedy, 251 Strather North. Now that we are an elderly-friendly town, I was wondering why we cannot have tempos put on our properties. It would save a lot of money and physical labor if we could have tempos. I always get the same answer that there is a security concern, etc. but Côte Saint Luc has them in many, has him in many other cities, so I really don't understand that rationale. It would make my life easier, and I would probably make my life easier, period. I probably have lead in my water, and I feel that the town should pay for a lead test and for filters that we require to have safe drinking water. Perhaps the budget that's being used for street sweeping machine could be used to make the water safe. Thank you. Councillor Feeney, if you could address the first part, and I'll address the second part,
Yeah,
please.
I will. Okay, thank you very much for your question, Judy. I'll address the part about the tempos. Yes, this council has looked at and discussed the issue of tempos, and we are not interested in having them in the area of Montreal-West. It's not only the fact that it's a security issue, there's really an aesthetic issue to them as well. Don't think anybody can say that they're quite unsightly, and they are up for 6 months of the year. And there's a lot of people who don't want them on this territory. In terms of being a senior-friendly town, we certainly are, and we did look as a committee at other options. There are other options to tempos. There are snow clearing services. And even our committee looked at something to see if we could set something up for our seniors. And it turns out we weren't eligible, but we're going to keep looking in that direction to see if there is perhaps another situation to make it a little easier for the clearing of snow for seniors. But tempos are not one of the options we're considering. So thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And concerning the second part, Mrs. Kennedy, we're in the process now of finalizing a plan where the town will be able to help out with the purchase of water filters for your homes. If you fall under certain criteria, we should be able to announce a plan within the next month, I would say. Within the next month, we'll be able to announce a plan for that. So we have been working on that, and that's something that should come to fruition very soon. So thank you very much for your questions, Judy Kennedy. Next question comes from Kate Brayley, 88 Crestwood. Can you please provide an update about the status of the pool arena revamp and if the pool will be closed for the summer of 2023? Thank you. Kaylee, I don't know if you, I said in the mayor's report that all going well, we should be going to tender at the beginning of the new year. And until we go for tender and until we have a contract that we can accept, we won't know what the contractor's time frame will be. Will he want to close the pool? Will he want to only start later in the season? Will he want to start at the beginning of the season? We don't know that, so I can't give you a more definitive answer. Chances are that when he has to take down the arena, the pool will probably have to come down or cease functioning at the same time, because the filtration equipment for the pool sits inside the arena. So there's still a lot of stuff up in the air, Kate, and as soon as we have more information, we'll be able to give you a better answer then. Thank you very much for your question. Next question comes from Jeremiah Kane, 146 Promenade, Sheraton. Have we considered building a pedestrian bridge between Dave Reed Park and Roxton? Edinburgh students could use it to avoid Westminster during rush hour, and it will provide easy access to the pool. And second, has there been any progress on the plan to build a bike path, behind Roxton under the hydro lines? With the aforementioned pedestrian bridge, all residents would have easy access to the bike path. Thank you very much. So I'll answer the first part. Quite honestly, I never even knew that they were in close proximity to build a connection between Dave Reed Park, which is basically near, to give people a situation, right near the Public Works building at the end of Bedbrook. So there, Jeremiah Kane is talking about building a bridge over the railroad tracks to connect to Roxton. And while I see the usefulness of it, I have no idea what the expense would be. I get the feeling a pedestrian bridge across the railroad tracks would be very, very expensive. We've never even considered it, and that's, like I said, right now we're trying to focus on one thing at a time. So we're focusing on bringing our buildings up to date. So that's as far as we can go on that one there. In terms of you talk about a bike path, but the recreational path behind Roxton, Councillor Torres, since you've been sitting on that committee, if you can give an update on that.
Thank you for asking. So far we haven't received any news. For those of you who do not know, Hydro-Quebec approached us a couple of years ago to see what they can do, or if we would agree with the green corridor following the hydro lines. And these hydro lines they're proposing or their idea is to have 27 kilometers of green areas between La Salle, Lachine, that would pass Montréal-Ouest, Côte-Saint-Luc, and end up in Ville-Saint-Laurent. It is a lovely project. We consulted a lot of our residents, and then we made a proposal, what would be acceptable for us or not. And yes, we do want to have pedestrians, we want to ski, we want to have use for bicycles, it would be safe, and it would be wonderful. However, the problem is that we were one of the first city, if not the first town, I'm sorry, not city, town, that was consulted. They still have to consult all the other towns and do the same process they did with us. And with us, it took about 6-8 months, if not longer. So it might take a little bit longer for them to come up with a proposal that unifies all the towns and that is feasible. So we're still waiting for news, and no, we'll let everybody know as soon as Hydro-Quebec comes back to us with a proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres, and thank you for your question, Jeremiah Kane. Next question comes from Earl Schneidman, 304 Strather North. Why are there no Bixi stands in Montreal-West? Maybe we should have one at the arena. I guess the main reason, Mr. Schneidman, is because it's $125,000 to purchase one, and I don't know what the ongoing costs are every year. And that was when I was sitting on the STM board. That was already 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago. So I don't know what the updated amounts are, but back then it made it almost prohibitive for a small town to be able to purchase a Bixi bike stand. They don't give them to you for free. All right, but I can find out to see if there is an update on the price or something like that, but at the time it was outside of our budget. Thank you for your question. Last question comes to us from Gerald Aronheim, 97 Brock North. Our house's French drain discharged into a town drain under the street for many years. Over the past several years, this drain became progressively and then completely blocked off, with leakage into the basement. A plumber used a telescope to inspect the drain and found it completely blocked. It is likely that a linden tree planted by the town some 30 years ago eventually blocked the drain, which is now unusable. Despite several requests, no one from Public Works has come to look at the problem with me. Will someone come? Councillor Yulin, please. I don't know if you have an update.
Sure. Thank you very much for your question, Gerald. Well, you should be aware that the pipes leading from the street to your home are your responsibility. So you would have to make a claim against the town if there was some kind of an issue that you felt was happening with your pipe that had to do with the town. Otherwise, you're responsible for that drain. So if you have anything you want to send the town by way of a claim, if your plumber has indicated that it is something that the town has done to cause this damage to your pipe, then we'll certainly accept that claim. But that would mean going to the town and with whatever proof you have to make that claim against the town, and you would do that with our town clerk, Mr. Claude Gilbert. So thanks very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Mr. Aronheim. I received a question, and I received the same question, I think 3 or 4 times, and it was answered 3 or 4 times from Ellen Moore. So I'm not going to answer the question again. We answered the question once and twice, and 3 times even, and we're not going to answer the 4th time. Contracts in the Town Clerk's Office, support for the request of the City of Dorval to the Government of Canada for the recognition of the ecological value and importance in terms of biodiversity of the federal land known as Gulf Dorval.
Okay, so whereas north of Montreal's Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport, there's an invaluable integrated 215-hectare wetland ecosystem consisting of fields, forests, and marshes, which are the property of the Government of Canada and which are leased to the Airport of Montreal, hereafter the federal lands. Whereas part of the federal lands are situated in the borough of Saint Laurent and the city of Montreal, and the other one in the city of Dorval, known as Gulf Dorval. Whereas this integrated wetland ecosystem includes the ecologically important monarch butterfly fields used by the monarchs to feed and reproduce during their migration to and from Montreal, a city that has been named a monarch gold metropolis. Whereas more than 200 species of birds have been sighted in the federal lands, as well as great numbers of other animals that make up the 215 hectares a hub of biodiversity. Whereas this entire 215 hectare ecosystem is the last of its kind still existing on the island of Montreal, and hence a part of the natural heritage, which merits being protected for all residents of the agglomeration. Whereas the cities and towns on the island of Montreal are all striving to redress its deficit in protected natural spaces compared to other Canadian cities, and this last large marshland and ravine ecosystem, composed of 215 hectares of rare wildlife habitats, is the size of Mount Royal Park. Whereas in June 2021, the town of Montreal-West, among other municipalities, has adopted Resolution 2021-0628-011, by which it committed itself to help making Montreal-West a monarch-friendly town and to restore monarch habitats. Whereas in December 2021, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change has been mandated by the Prime Minister to ensure that all Canadians have access to green spaces, and in particular to establish at least one new national urban park in every province and territory, with a target of 15 new urban parks by 2030. And whereas in August 2022, the City of Dorval has adopted Resolution CM 2208-398 to request that the Government of Canada firstly recognize and acknowledge the ecological value and biodiversity of the federal lands, including the monarch butterfly fields located in Dorval, all of which are under lease to the ADM. Advise and require the ADM, by way of Transport Canada, to halt all and any development on the federal lands with immediate effect, to provide for the preservation and the conservation of the federal lands in perpetuity in line with its stated objective to create or contribute to the creation of an urban park in Quebec by 2030, and work with the Borough of Saint Laurent and the City of Montreal and the City of Dorval to create a legacy for future generations by creating an urban park on the island of Montreal similar to the Rouge National Urban Park in Ontario. Therefore, I move that the Town of Montreal-West fully support the demands made by the City of Dorval through Resolution CM 2208-398 concerning the future of Golf Dorval, as well as all of the federal lands described in the first paragraph of the present resolution. And secondly, that the present resolution be forwarded to the Federal Minister of Transport, Omar Al-Habra, the Federal Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Stephen Guilbeault, all federal members on the island of Montreal, and to the mayors of all cities and towns in the agglomeration of Montreal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you very much. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Administration and Finances, approval of disbursements for June 24th to August 26th, 2022.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I move that the list of accounts payable from June 24th to August 26th, 2022, totaling $1,607,829.38, be approved and paid as listed.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Small Pennefather. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois de juillet et à août 2022.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose que soit approuvé le rapport de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement 2005-002 pour le mois de juillet et août 2022.
Parfait, merci. La conseillère Yulin, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Affectation des dons dédiés au nouveau centre récréatif.
Oui. Je propose que tous les dons reçus par la ville et encaissés sur la poste budgétaire 01-234-78000 qui sont dédiés à la construction d'un nouveau centre récréatif soient imputés au surplus sous la poste budgétaire 55-992-00000.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Simon-Pennefather. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Internet Services Contract Amendment.
I move that the contract accepted by the virtue of Resolution 202-10920-008, under which Videotron agreed to provide the town with internet services, be amended by withdrawing the community center from the 4 locations initially included in this contract. That paragraph 2 of the said resolution be replaced with the following: Block Tower, $1,820.16, budget code 0271600-335. Town Hall, $4,318.20, budget code 02-130-00-335. Public Works Department, $3,598.28, budget code 02-310-00-335, total of $9,736.56. 3, that the ending date of this contract be extended from August 31st, 2024 to August 25th, 2025.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Règlement des emprunts des soldes résiduaires. Before we read this is something that Councillor Feeney was talking about in her report. When we have loan bylaws, sometimes we don't need to use the whole amount that we have authorized from the government because our treasurer was able to manage our cash flow, or we're able to reduce some of the costs. So what happens is that we have unused amounts sitting there on the loan bylaw that we need to repeal, and that's what we're going to be doing now.
OK, merci beaucoup. Attendu que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest a entièrement réalisé l'objet des 2 règlements d'emprunt dont la liste apparaît ci-dessous dans la présente résolution, selon ceux qui y étaient prévus, attendu que ces règlements ont déjà en partie fait l'objet d'un financement à long terme, sans atteindre la limite du montant total d'emprunt autorisé, attendu qu'il subsiste pour chacun de ces règlements un solde non contracté de montant de l'impôt approuvé par le ministre des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation, lequel ne peut être utilisé à d'autres fins, attendu que le financement de ces soldes par la Ville n'est pas requis et que ceux-ci ne devraient pas apparaître au registre du ministre, attendu qu'il y a lieu, à cette fin, de modifier ces règlements d'emprunt identifiés à l'annexe pour ajuster les montants de la dépense et de l'emprunt et, s'il y a lieu, approprier une somme provenant du fonds général de la municipalité ou d'une subvention gouvernementale, selon le cas. En conséquence, je propose, premièrement, que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest modifie comme suit les règlements identifiés à l'annexe et cités à l'article 3 de la présente résolution. A. En remplaçant les montants de la dépense ou de l'emprunt pour ceux indiqués sous les colonnes montant de dépenses réelles et montant financé de l'annexe. B. En ajoutant une disposition prévoyant, aux fins d'acquitter une partie de la dépense, la Ville affecte une somme indiquée sous la colonne Fonds général ou subvention de l'annexe. Deuxièmement, que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest informe le ministre des Affaires municipales et de l'occupation du territoire que le pouvoir d'emprunt des règlements identifiés à l'annexe ne sera pas totalement utilisé en raison des modifications apportées ci-dessus à ces règlements. Troisièmement, que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest demande au ministre d'annuler dans ses registres ses soldes résiduaires sous chacun des règlements ci-après énumérés. Règlement numéro 2018-003, un solde résiduaire de 1 138 744 $. Et pour le règlement numéro 2019-001, un solde résiduaire de 1 388 327 $. Et finalement, qu'une copie certifiée conforme de la présente résolution soit transmise au ministre des Affaires municipales de l'Habitation.
Merci, la conseillère Fini. Je peux voir de l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je le puis.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
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 Thank you very much. New tariff proposals. We're just changing some of the tariffs for renting the ice at the arena. These tariffs haven't been touched since 2018, and they're going up about 2 to 3%. So if I could have somebody propose.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. I move that revised tariffs be charged to the following services. Culture, sports and leisure, ice rental, excluding taxes, regular, $173 per hour, youth, $120 per hour, CRA minor, $60 per hour.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fini, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to number 11, the Urban Department Site Planning and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP.
I move first to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on August 24, 2022. Secondly, to approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 9193 Ronald, replacement of front doors. 1012 Strathern South, replacement of the garage door. 455 Westminster North, installation of a garden shed in the backyard. 68 Courtney, replacement of the front door and 3 windows. 152 Percival, replacement of 2 windows. Third, to approve with conditions under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 60 Rugby, capping the front stairs and landing in pavers. Fourth, to defer the examination of the following plans to the next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 9193 Ronald, replacement of railings. 337-339 Westminster North, replacement of the front door and painting of the wood trims around the front door and window above.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to notice of motion, reading and adoption of bylaws. Je donne avis de motion et dépôt d'un projet de règlement pour un règlement amendant le règlement 456 concernant les nuisances, le bruit et la sécurité publique. Je donne avis de motion de la présentation à une prochaine séance de conseil d'un règlement intitulé Règlement amendant le règlement 456 concernant les nuisances, le bruit et la sécurité publique. Un projet de règlement est déposé avec le conseil et mis à la discussion du public. This is what Councillor Yulin was discussing before about the changes that are coming for our leaf blowers, gas leaf blowers, about prohibiting them and only allowing electric ones as of November 2023.
Next year.
Next year, that's right. So that's in terms of the regular agenda. We're going to see if there's any questions for second question period. Nothing's come online. If you have any questions, it has to pertain to the agenda. If it's to the agenda, please go ahead, Mr. Marcuzzi.
Yes, regarding the recreation center, is it a fait accompli or is it a matter of meeting a certain budget before you decide to proceed with the shovel in the ground?
It's not actually a fait accompli yet, Mr. Marcuzzi, so we have to see We have to finalize the budget, and we'll have that when we have the final plan. And then we have to see that even if we finalize the budget and we think it's going to cost $5 and we go to tender and it comes back that it's $50, that's a whole different discussion. So no, it's not finalized yet.
Have you taken into consideration the big increase in the interest rates?
All of that has to fit into the whole financial model. You're absolutely right. All of that has to fit into the whole financial model before we can go forward with it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, I saw nothing coming online in terms of the second question. Oh, sorry.
Hi, are the online forums still open for input?
If you could please just state your name and your address.
Yes. Hi, I'm India and I live on Valentine.
What's your name?
India, like the country.
Okay, and your family name?
Chamberlaino.
Okay.
I was just wondering, are the online forums still open for input for the recreation center?
Well, we've had our public consultations for it, but you're more than welcome to share your input. If you just email us, we'll take that into account as we're finalizing things. Like they said, the official consultations are finished, but we're always willing to hear that. So
Okay.
yes, please go
Because
ahead.
I did answer the survey, but I just have other concerns.
No problem.
Okay.
Just put them in an email so we can address them then.
Perfect, thank
Okay.
you. And I have a second question. It might not be on the agenda.
If it's not on the agenda, yeah, I can't
Okay.
accept it.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I was just inspired by a question online about the construction on Easton.
Yes.
I saw that they started the foundation during the winter,
During
or the colder months, and I was just
Okay.
wondering if the town is taking any measures to make sure that they're doing the construction properly, because I just worry that since they started the foundation in colder months, it might crack and then it'll lead to more construction.
And quite honestly, they did not they did not pour anything in the colder months last year. So
Okay.
the only thing that they did last year was they had to move a pipe. So they moved that pipe, and that's the only thing that they've done. They haven't poured any of their foundations yet. And again, that's their business. As long as the piping is done to the règle d'art, that's the part that we're concerned about. And that's the only thing that's really been done now. They're doing pilings and things like that to do
Okay.
the other thing, but they haven't started pouring cement.
Oh, okay, perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. On the second here, I think I just saw a question come across now. Okay, a question came in from Robert Deslauriers. Ayant lu la lettre de Maître M. Barza dans le dernier numéro de l'Informer, je voudrais savoir si vous avez partagé ces inquiétudes en ce qui a trait au coût projeté pour la construction de nouveaux centres récréatifs, et est-ce que c'est vrai que vous n'avez recueilli que seulement 700 000 de votre objectif de 2,5 millions? Monsieur Deslauriers, l'effet que je ne sais pas où il a pris ce chiffre, M. Barza, mais 700 000 piastres de notre objectif de 2,5 est complètement fausse. Et oui, nous avons besoin de s'assurer que le projet peut entrer dans notre modèle financier. Et non, je ne partage pas toutes les opinions de M. Barza. Merci pour votre question. If I could have somebody move to close to end our session, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the session be terminated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennyfather, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, all in